Last week in Romeo at Barnable Field, Detroit City FC took on Union FC Macomb. Sophia Romine notches her first goal of the year for Detroit City off a banger right here. Ella Kane would also contribute as Detroit City would beat Union FC Macomb by a score of 2-1. Now they face their arch nemesis, Midwest United, with the playoffs on the line. Hannah Crum got a brace the last time the two teams met at Kentwood Stadium. Will Crum and her teammates notch another victory in Grand Rapids this evening? Find out next on Soccer Night in Detroit.
It's 2-1, Detroit City FC! Detroit City FC makes history, reaches the summit, and claims the 2024 USLW League Central Conference Final.
A pivotal match happens in Grand Rapids tonight as Midwest United hosts Detroit City FC. Welcome to Van Rapids. Matt Cat here over at the Midwest United Soccer Complex as Detroit City gets set to take on their fiercest rival known as Midwest United. Detroit City has won 3 straight over this team, where previously they had lost 6 consecutive games, or 6 consecutive games with Midwest United, but they have now turned the tide on this all-time series with Midwest United. Important game tonight for the ladies because down the road over in Kalamazoo, AFC Ann Arbor will be taking on Kalamazoo FC in another crucial matchup in the Great Lakes Division. Both those sides right now, Detroit City and Ann Arbor, are tied in points with 13, tied in points per match with 2.17. However, Ann Arbor has the head-to-head advantage, beating Detroit City FC in the first game by a score of 2-1. Detroit City, as of late, has been firing on all cylinders, mainly by the play of one Hannah Crum. Hannah Crum went on a stretch of 2 games where she scored 4 goals, 2 braces in a row. The second of those braces coming against Midwest United over at Keyworth Stadium. So Detroit City's on fire, shall we say. 4 straight clean sheets by Allison Lapointe, for example. That defense getting very, tight and stalwart. Let's just put it that way. As the rain is about right now, we're anticipating rain here, obviously, in Kentwood tonight for this matchup. 7 o'clock kickoff, Sports Engine play for that game. As I mentioned, Allison Lapointe was on a streak until last week's game over in Romeo, where she hadn't given up a goal. Goal given up midway through the second half of play, in which Villarreal of Union Macomb scored to equalize at Ella Kane in the 85th minute with the game winner to give Detroit City that victory. And, of course, last week over in Ann Arbor, Kalamazoo FC goes and beats AFC Ann Arbor at Holloway Field. So it's going to be a very interesting night indeed in the USLW's Great Lakes Division. Now, one thing of note for Detroit City FC, Kate Childers will not be available for selection tonight. Childers went back to University of Minnesota to check in. She should be available for Saturday's matchup, the pivotal match, the last match at Keyworth for the year, last regular season match at Keyworth for the year. That's a 7 o'clock kickoff as well against AFC Ann Arbor. So Detroit riding in on hot streak. Let's see here. As I stay on the screen checking out Midwest United as of late. There we go. Okay, so Midwest United, it's been a struggle for them ever since beating Kalamazoo on, almost at the end of May last year. or almost at the end of May, not last year, last month. 3-2 victory over Kalamazoo FC over at Mayor's Riverfront Park. Since then, lost to Detroit City, draw against Union FC Macomb, draw against Toledo Villa, and then another draw last Saturday against Union FC Macomb. So they've been struggling as of late. They've got 10 points right now in the division. Going back down here. Yeah, 10 points right now in the division. Yeah. No, 8 points. No, I'm right. 10 points in the division. 1.25 goals against, or 1.25 points per match. Now, Midwest can play spoiler tonight if they beat Detroit City. However, on the other hand, Detroit City can pretty much eliminate Midwest United from contention in the Great Lakes Division. As you know, only one team can come out of the division to go into the USLW playoffs. There's 3 other divisions this year, so there's no half spot, shall we say, like we had last year, when there was 3 divisions coming from the east in USLW. So it's a little different scenario this year. So with tonight, if Detroit wins tonight, as you know, they could probably knock out Midwest United from contention in the Great Lakes Division race. However, though, what goes on in Kalamazoo is quite important as well, because Kalamazoo wins tonight, they could play spoiler. They'll be, at that point, they'll have 12 points going into that thing. If Detroit City should win, City will be at 16 points. So they could play spoiler a little bit with a couple weeks left to go in the season as we speak. So it is, let's just say, a fun time for ladies football here in that Great Lakes Division, to say the least. So, but as I mentioned, Kate Childers not available in the lineup tonight. However, Detroit City should come out with a strong contingent. Dave Dwahey and his staff putting together a lineup that can, solidly beat this team. As you know, Midwest has always played well against Detroit. They've always come up to the challenge against Detroit City. And the last year, Dwayhe's bunch overcame that, shall we say, obstacle of beating Midwest United. How so? They won 2 games, one at Keyworth Stadium, the last one being here, and that was basically the clincher for winning the Great Lakes Division last year at here at Midwest United Soccer Complex. So Midwest United always brings a strong contingent into these matches. They're a well-run club, probably the shall we say, the benchmark here in West Michigan as far as soccer talent is concerned. I mean, well, you know about the whole story about MLS coming, or MLS Next Pro coming into the Grand Rapids area as well. They're building a new stadium, as you know, down in downtown Grand Rapids, with DeVos funding, Van Andel funding, the whole 9 yards there. Van Andels and DeVos's. Well, DeVos has a stake in Orlando City, I believe it is, in the MLS as well. So they're going to be any MLS, I don't want to say MLS feeder team, but they will be independent, as you know, one of the few independent teams in MLS Next Pro once that stadium comes into fruition in a couple years' time. However, like I said, great soccer area out here in the west side of the state. I mean, great programs all throughout the state. I mean, obviously, you know about Western Michigan over in Kalamazoo, pretty good soccer program there. And there's, like I said, a plethora of good soccer programs in the state. Midwest United being one of them. And, of course, historical rival of Detroit City FC. They played back in 2020 was the first time that these two teams met. Unfortunately for Detroit City, at that time, they lost both those meetings, one here at this facility, the other one being in the UWS Summer Showcase that took place at Keyworth Stadium. And It was like 2 out of the 3 games in that year. So it's been a long-standing rival of the women's team for Detroit City FC. As far as players to watch tonight, I mentioned Hannah Crum first of all. Hannah Crum has been, one of the top players on this team, top goal scorer on this team with 4 goals. Another one to look out for, Sophia Romine. I mean, what is this team without Sophia Romine? I mean, she brings that energy out on the pitch every time she steps out there, dictates the flow of play, kind of like a team leader out there, kind of like, shall we say, fits the mold of assistant coach Danny Evans and that hard driving tenacity that gets the job done. And you see it in a Hannah Crum. You see it in a Tatiana Mason, for example. These have been stalwarts throughout the year for Detroit City FC as far as the their standing in the division. And of course they overcome, when I looked at that game, when I went to Ann Arbor back in early May or mid-May for that first game against AFC Ann Arbor, that was, let's just say, that, I mean, disappointing night. Detroit showed signs early on that, after, coming out of the break, Kayla Addison scoring the goal, and then unfortunately 2 howlers that Allison LaPointe had an issue with stopping. And as it turned out, it ended up being that Detroit City could not, shall we say, couldn't get the job done, couldn't hold off there. Since then, though, a tight defensive struggle against Union FC Macomb in the home opener. Then that 6-0 victory against Toledo Villa. That, coupled with Sophia Romine coming in to the lineup, has been the big difference for Detroit City FC. You see a lot more of an intense tenacity with this club, with Romine being, shall I say, she's been the big difference so far this year? I can honestly say so, because I've seen since Romine's been in the lineup for Detroit City FC a little bit more fever, a little bit more tenacity with that lineup. And grant you, that defense, I mean, has been very stalwart this year. You think of players like Ella Offer, for example, holding that back line quite well. Kate Childer is a good player on the midfield, although we will miss her tonight. But the thing is with Dave Dway's squad is be bold but be humble, and that's what they've been doing to opponents. They've been very bold, very humble out on the pitch as well. You celebrate after a goal, but get right back out there, get right back to work, and finish your job. And that's the thing about Detroit City to a point, because it's been that way for the last couple of years with this squad. Do I say a lot of this? I got into a conversation a couple days ago with Bob Page on Twitter. He's let's just say he's one of those people that don't embrace the game of soccer too much, and he's not comfortable with the fact, what, soccer night in Detroit? So I explained to him what was going on as far as that goes. I did mention to him the fact that the indoor game is taking the, helping out with what's going on in the outdoor game as well, because you look at Detroit City, ever since they've gotten that indoor squad, they've been doing quite well. They've only had 1 loss in Great Lakes competition ever since they've developed an indoor squad. And there's a lot of those indoor players part of that squad. Mason, Crum, Kayla Addison, Sophia wasn't with the lineup as well, but just those 3 in general have helped out. You react a little bit quicker in the indoor game as opposed to the outdoor game, so you tend to focus a little bit more out on the pitch. When you're in the indoor game, because the ball comes flying at you at 90 miles an hour there. Not so much in the outdoor game, but you can use those tenacities that you developed on the indoor game, and put them into the outdoor game as well to help out as far as your, shall we say, agility out on the pitch and controlling the ball as well. And for Detroit City, they are relying on a ball control offense as well, trying to make their opportunities as they go along. Play from the back, obviously, the old Pep Guardiola way, as you know. Play from the back, and they do quite well as far as that goes. So should be a very interesting match here this evening. As I mentioned, big match in Kalamazoo tonight. AFC Ann Arbor. They've had their struggles with Kalamazoo recently as last week, losing 1-0 at Holloway Field. Now, the AFC Ann Arbor has to come in and win that game tonight to make anything interesting for Saturday night over at Keyworth Stadium. So it'll be interesting to see what that result is going to be there. That game you can also watch on Sports Engine Play as well. All the USLW games are available on Sports Engine Play. There's one other tilt tonight, Toledo Villa taking on Union FC Macomb. That's basically two teams that are sitting on the bottom of the Great Lakes Division as we speak. I wouldn't say too much of a factor going into that race, except that they want to play spoiler for anybody else, should results hold tonight. But it's going to be an interesting and fun 2 weeks of soccer. Let's just put it that way. This will dictate what Detroit City's future for the season is going to be. Whether it's going to end up being a division championship and a spot in the USLW playoffs, or it's just going to be one of those seasons where it's pretty good season, but unfortunately, not really a successful season. So the bar is a little bit high for Detroit City FC. And as I mentioned, that AFC Ann Arbor has been one of the stories this year in USLW as far as they go. They've been like mid-table-ish in the Great Lakes Division the last couple years. Somehow they've gotten a stronger club, and they showed that in that first game, and they've been pretty consistent all along. The hiccup along the way, obviously, was that loss last week against Kalamazoo FC, and they're out to rectify that loss on the road tonight, and pretty much similar conditions than what this is going to be tonight. It's going to be a rainy game. It's probably going to be a slog out there. It's going to be a tough contest, shall we say, between the two teams. As far as depends on how this weather is going to hold up, though. They're calling for thunderstorms in the area tonight. Might have a little, couple little delays there. Hopefully, the lightning will hold back and we can enjoy the game ad nauseum from here at pitchside at here in Kentwood. So like I said, going to be a very interesting affair to say the least. Interesting night of soccer to say the least. Trying to ramble on a little bit here, to fill time. Just kidding here. Unfortunately, my partner is not here with me. He's back in Hamtramck. He did offer us picks, though, for tonight's contest between Midwest United and Detroit City FC. I'm getting a little bit closer thanks to that. My prediction on Saturday of a loss in Loudoun for the men's side. That ended up being a 3-2 loss for Detroit City. I predicted them to lose that game. So I'm a little bit closer now as far as the season-long points race goes. But he offers his pick. He thinks it's going to be 2-0 favor of Detroit City tonight. He expects another clean sheet from Miss Allison LaPointe, the Central Michigan star. And maybe a contribution from Hannah Crum as well, shall we say. I'm looking at, with Kate Childers not being in the lineup, Dave Dwayhe finds a way to get the right people in the right positions at the most important times. And I feel that, even though Kate is not available tonight, he's got 40 players on this squad. I know he's going to find somebody out there that's going to fill that role, to fill Childers' spot, and it's not going to be too much of a worry. Obviously, Allison LaPointe playing extremely well at goalkeeper for Detroit City FC. And you talk about the tenacity crew that Denny Evans has developed, with a couple of these players. I think that tenacity right there is going to give the edge to Detroit City FC in this one, much like it did in Keyworth a few weeks back. I'm going to go 2-1. I'm being a little bit generous with Midwest here. I'm going to go 2-1 as far as this goes. I'm going to pick Detroit City to win. and a hold serve, shall we say. Now, as far as the other game goes, we shall see what happens there. You know, we're going to keep an eye on it. As you know, we'll get you a full update of what's going on there afterwards on After Hours from here, from here in Kentwood. Now, Saturday, doubleheader day at Keyworth Stadium. The first game, Detroit City FC's men try to end the winless streak. They got a tough opponent on their hands. Miami FC, the Miami FC. Right now, they're below the playoff line in the Eastern Conference. However, they've had a pretty solid year thus far, despite that. They just came off a loss to lowly Tampa Bay last week down at Al Lane Stadium. How much of a fire can that give them going into probably, as you know, one of the toughest places to play in all of USL Saturday afternoon? Question is for Detroit City's men is who's going to drive the bus? Who's going to drive the bus on Saturday? We'll find out more. We'll break it down Saturday. That'll be the first half of our soccer night in Detroit there. Second half, we'll develop. All depends on what happens tonight. How big's that match going to be? Top two dogs in the USLW's Great Lakes Division. Is it going to be coronation night for Detroit City SC, or is it just going to be a knockdown, drag-out bar fight at Keyworth Stadium for the nightcap? All depends on what's going on tonight. We'll preview that match as well Saturday afternoon from Keyworth Stadium. Steve and I will break, and then Steve will join me for the pre-match show. He will join me a little bit for post-match for the men's game, not for the women's game, obviously. He's got another, let's say he's got another gig going on that night, so he won't be able to join us for the women's game. But look for me and Steve Saturday for sure for Soccer Night in Detroit, and a little bit during After Hours for the men's match as well. But ways you can see this game, as you know, Sports Engine Play is where you need to go. Just look for Detroit City FC. Click a follow for them, and they will provide you with the feed for this match here in Kentwood. So that's where you can see it. Oh, one more thing. Let me duck away for just a little bit. As I look up, the most important thing of all. Pride Raiser, yes, indeed. Pride Raiser, indeed. Right now, we are sitting at 5 goals for a grand total of $6,768 going to the Ruth Ellis Center over in Hamtramck and in Highland Park. So right now, we are sitting at $1,353.69 pledged per goal. One way you could do it, obviously the pledge per goal that's on the left side of my screen right now. You can make that donation right there. You can also make a one-time donation, which I did on Saturday to get that Danny Dicchio bobblehead, obviously. But if you feel like making that one-time donation as well, Pride Rate NGS, or click on that QR code on the right side of me to do that. Also, you can go to ngs.prideraiser.org to make your pledges to Pride Raiser for 2025. Great effort, and all we need is a couple more, which would be nice, a couple more goals added to that total for pledges per goal for Pride Raiser tonight. So hopefully we'll get a couple more goals here. As you know, it's raining right now. We're going to take some shelter from the rain, and we will talk to you again after the match from here at Kentwood. Until we meet again, folks, keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the galaxy.